In the center of the Andromeda Galaxy, there was a giant school built in space. It was called Zenthra Academy. Only the smartest and strongest alien children were allowed to study here. Every species from every star system had their own student. Some had wings, some had 4 arms, some could breathe fire. But only one student was human. His name was Zane. He was small. He was quiet. He did not have claws or wings. He could not lift heavy objects like the other kids. He could not speak telepathically. He could not fly. He was just a normal boy from a small blue planet called Earth. Every day, other students made fun of him. They called him weak. They called him slow. They laughed at his walking. They laughed at his soft voice. One alien student named Grog pushed Zane in the hallway every day. Another girl named Sarah would throw her food at him during lunch. Even the cleaning robots ignored him. They would clean around his feet, but never near him. Zane never fought back. He never shouted. He never cried. He just looked down. He walked slowly to his seat in the back of the class. He always kept something hidden under his shirt. A small silver necklace. It had a strange symbol. He never showed it to anyone. One day, something strange happened. The sky outside the academy turned dark. The stars began to flicker. A strange power moved through the building. The lights blinked. The walls shook. The teacher bots shut down. Security robots fell to the ground. Students screamed. A small earthquake started. Power in the whole academy broke down. But Zane did not move. He stood in the hallway near his locker. He looked calm. He looked peaceful. Everything around him was shaking. But he was still. Not a single hair moved on his head, even when an electric wire passed near him. It stopped and went dead. The necklace under his shirt began to glow softly. One teacher named Professor Kylo watched everything from the control room. He looked at the security footage. He zoomed in on Zane. His face went pale. His heart began to beat faster. He leaned closer to the screen. He saw the symbol on Zane's necklace glow for 1 second. That symbol had not been seen for over 10 years. It was the royal mark of the lost Nyx Empire, the empire that had disappeared. After the Great War, the empire ruled by the most powerful being in the galaxy, the Alien Empress, a queen who had the power to bend stars and command armies, a queen who vanished after the Shadow War. Some say she died. Some say she hid. Nobody knew the truth, but that symbol, it belonged to her, and now it was glowing on a human child. Professor Kylo sat back in his chair. He whispered to himself, "This can't be this boy. This human. Could he be the heir?" Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, Zane sat alone. The lights were still off. Students whispered in fear. No one touched him. No one laughed. Zane opened his lunch slowly. He took one bite. Then he looked around. He did not smile, but his eyes showed something new, something deep, something ancient. Later that night, Grog and 2 other students tried to scare Zane. They followed him near the old storage area. They pushed him. They shouted, but this time Zane did not fall. He just stared at them. His eyes glowed for 1 second, only 1 second, and then a sudden pulse of energy exploded from his body. It was invisible, but strong. It knocked all 3 bullies backward. They hit the wall and fell to the floor. Lights around them blinked. The metal door behind Zane bent slightly. Zane looked at his hands. He was scared. He did not understand what just happened. He turned and ran. Professor Kylo watched from the shadows. He turned on his communicator. He spoke softly. "We may have found the heir. The bloodline is not lost. Somewhere deep in space, a forgotten signal was activated. A sleeping ship opened its eyes. A voice inside the machine said only one word: Zane *. The truth was no longer hiding. The symbol on Zane's necklace had glowed in front of security cameras. It was seen by every teacher, every machine connected to the academy system. Now everyone was watching him. For years, they had ignored him. For years, they had called him weak. Now they were silent. Zane didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know that the symbol he wore was once feared across galaxies. He didn't know that his mother was not just a traveler from another world. She was once the Empress of Nyx, ruler of light and shadow. But Professor Kylo knew. He had seen that symbol long ago during the war. It was burned into the walls of her palace. It was carved into the crowns of her soldiers. And now, it was glowing on the chest of a human boy. Zane walked into the academy the next day. No one pushed him. No one laughed. Students stared at him. Some moved out of his way. Some whispered behind his back. He sat in class. The air was heavy. Then the door opened. 2 tall security officers entered the room. Their eyes were red. Their voices robotic. "Zane of Earth, you must come with us." The teacher did not stop them. No one said a word. Zane stood up slowly. As they walked him through the hallway, students peeked from behind doors. Even the bullies who once mocked him looked scared. Zane was taken to a secret chamber under the academy. He was placed in front of a scanning device. Red lights moved over his face, his chest, his necklace. The machine beeped. Then it spoke. "Bloodline match, 99.9%. Nick's royal code confirmed." The guards stepped back in shock. They bowed slightly. Even they did not understand why Zane looked confused. He said softly, "What does that mean? Why are you looking at me like that?" Before anyone could answer, the room went dark. A cold wind blew across the metal floor. A shadow moved across the wall like smoke. A voice echoed in the room. "This child must not rise." Suddenly, the wall exploded. Black figures jumped into the chamber. Their bodies were like shadows, but their eyes burned. Red assassins from the old war, sent to kill any survivors of the Empress's bloodline. They moved fast, too fast for normal humans to see. One assassin swung a blade at Zane, but before it could hit, Zane raised his hand not to block, but out of fear, and something inside him woke up again. A wave of invisible energy burst from his body. It hit the assassin and slammed it into the wall. Another shadow leapt from behind. Zane turned quickly. His eyes glowed bright white. The ground under his feet cracked. The second assassin was lifted into the air without being touched. Zane dropped to his knees. He was shaking, breathing fast. What's happening to me?" Professor Kalo rushed in. He held a strange cube in his hand. He threw it at the remaining shadows. The cube exploded in blue light. The shadows screamed and vanished. Kalo looked at Zane. "You're not normal," he said. "You're not just a human." Zane's voice was weak. "Then what am I?" Kalo knelt beside him. "You are the son of the most powerful being this galaxy has ever seen, the Empress of Nyx. Your mother. She did not die in the war. She disappeared, and she hid you here." Zane held the necklace. It no longer glowed, but it felt warm. It felt alive. Professor Kalo stood up. "We need to leave. They know you're alive now. Others will come." Zane looked at his hands. His voice was quiet but clear. "Why me?" Kalo answered without looking back. "Because you're the last hope of your mother's empire." As they walked toward the exit far above them, in deep space, a dark ship turned its eyes toward the academy. Inside it, a tall creature with burning eyes spoke. "So, the child lives, then the hunt begins." Everyone knew now. Zane was no longer a mystery. He wasn't just the quiet boy from Earth anymore. He was the blood of the Empress, the one name every galaxy still feared. The last heir of a fallen empire. And now, everyone wanted him dead. Outside Zenthra Academy, the stars were not still. Black ships moved silently in the dark. No warning, no signal, no mercy. The Shadow Order had returned, ancient assassins of the Empress's enemy. They had destroyed her palace. They had erased her name from history, and now, they had only one target left. Her son Zane stood in the hangar, staring at a small ship. His heart was racing. His palms were sweaty. Everything had changed in 24 hours. Yesterday, he was getting food thrown at him. Today, he was being smuggled out like a royal fugitive. Professor Kalo pushed a button. The ship's hatch opened. "Get in. Now." Zane didn't move. "What if I don't want this?" he said. "What if I just want to be normal?" Kalo looked at him, serious. "Then you will die normal, and the galaxy will lose its last light." Behind them, sirens rang. Explosions shook the academy walls. The shadows had arrived. Zane ran into the ship. Kalo followed, sealing the door. Aye aye, launch stealth mode. A calm voice answered. Stealth mode activated. Preparing for takeoff. The ship lifted off the ground and vanished into the stars. Meanwhile, in the Shadow Order's warship, the High Hunter growled. He watched the footage of Zane blasting 2 assassins with raw power. His voice was cold, like metal scraping bone. He doesn't even know how to use it, but he still survived. One soldier asked, "Should we wait for permission from the High Council?" The High Hunter turned sharply. "There is no council anymore, only the bloodline, and it must be erased." Back on the ship, Zane sat in silence. His necklace was glowing again, but it wasn't warm this time. It was vibrating. Like it was calling something. A hologram suddenly appeared in front of him, not a message, not a video, but a map. He stared at it. Planets. Hidden systems. Encrypted signals. At the center was a symbol, the Empress's crest. Kalo stepped beside him. "That map only appears to those of royal blood. She left it for you, to find her, or to finish what she started." Zane looked at the final blinking planet. A name appeared in ancient text. Nixer Prime. "Is she there?" Zane asked. Kalo didn't answer. He only said, "That is the heart of her empire. If anything remains, it's there." Suddenly, the ship's alarm screamed. "Warning! Hostile ship approaching. Cloak compromised." Kalo looked at the screen. A black triangle ship was closing in. Shadow Order. They had found them. "We can't outrun them," Kalo said. Zane stood up. He stepped forward, his hands shaking slightly. "I'll fight them." Kalo's eyes widened. "You barely understand your power. You'll burn yourself alive." Zane didn't blink. "They're not after you. They're after me. I won't run forever." Outside, the shadow ship fired a plasma net. Zane raised his hand. For a second, just 1 second, he felt everything. Every wire, every atom, every movement in the ship. He didn't block the attack. He reversed it. The plasma net snapped back like a whip and wrapped around the enemy ship instead. Shadow ship shook violently. Systems failed. Smoke burst from its engines. Then it exploded. Zane fell to the ground, breathing hard, his nose bleeding, his energy drained. Kalo caught him. "You're becoming something more," he said. Zane whispered, "I don't want to be a weapon." Kalo nodded slowly. "Then become a king." Far away, a new message traveled across deep space. A signal not heard in 10 years. It reached the ruins of the Empress's old palace, where something ancient still lived. A voice, weak, fading but alive, whispered through the shadows, "My son, you have awakened." Zane didn't dream anymore. Ever since he destroyed the shadow ship, sleep had changed. He didn't see stars. He didn't see Earth. He saw her, standing in fire, wearing armor of black glass and gold, eyes glowing like 2 suns. The Empress of Nyx, his mother. His blood, a queen the galaxy forgot. But he could not. Zane's ship dropped out of warp. Ahead of them was a broken planet. Dark, silent, cracked down the middle. Nixer Prime, once the heart of her empire. Now just a graveyard in space. Kalo lowered the ship slowly. "No one comes here anymore," he said. "Not after what the Shadow Order did." Zane stared at the ruins through the glass. "I need answers. I need to see where she stood." They landed near a massive black tower. Crumbled, rusted, overgrown with alien vines, but still standing. Zane stepped out. The air was heavy, full of static. Old energy still clung to the ground as they walked through the ruins. They saw broken statues, twisted armor, burned banners. Every wall had the same symbol carved deep. The Eye of the Empress, inside the throne hall. The silence was loud. No footsteps, no birds, no life. Zane approached the throne. It was made of pure obsidian, cold to the touch. Then something clicked under his foot. A hidden platform lit up beneath him. A soft hum filled the room, and then a voice. Not just in his ears, but in his mind. "Zane, my son." A figure rose from the floor, A glowing recording his mother, the Empress. She looked older, her face tired, but her eyes still powerful. I don't know if I'm alive when you hear this, she said. But if this message plays, it means your powers have awakened. She paused. There will be many who want to use you. Many who will fear you, but you are more than blood. You must decide. Will you run like a child, or rise like a ruler? The hologram faded. The room was quiet again. Zane sat on the steps of the throne. He closed his eyes. I don't want to rule, he whispered. I just want to stop running. Suddenly Callow shouted, "Get down!" A blast hit the side of the tower. Stone exploded. A new ship hovered outside. A Shadow Order warcraft. Dozens of black armored soldiers dropped from the air. Not assassins this time, hunters. Elite. Trained to kill royal bloodlines. Callow pulled out his plasma blade. Zane stood beside him. No fear now. I'm done hiding. Zane said, I'm not my mother. But I won't let her die in silence. The hunters charged. Zane stepped forward. His hands glowed. The ground shook. Stone rose around him like a shield. Then he turned it into a weapon. A wave of broken marbles slammed into the hunters. Another came. From the other side, he moved like he'd done it 100 times. But he hadn't. It was instinct. It was her power flowing through him like fire. One hunter reached him, too fast to stop. He stabbed his blade forward, but it stopped mid-air, frozen. The metal bent backward. Zane's eyes were glowing white. The blade snapped like glashane. Look the hunter in the eyes. Tell your masters, I'm not afraid anymore. And then he crushed the blade with his mind. The hunters retreated, not out of mercy, but out of fear. Zane stood in the center of the ruined throne room, covered in dust, breathing heavy but alive, awake, transformed. Callow walked to his side. He didn't speak, just looked at Zane with new eyes. Shane broke the silence. She's not dead. I can feel it. Callow nodded. Then the war isn't over. Somewhere far away, on a hidden moon deep in the outer rings, a prison of light cracked open, and inside it, the real Empress opened her eyes. He's coming, she whispered. My son is coming. Zane didn't feel like a student anymore, not a lost child, not a victim. He stood in the ruins of his mother's empire, and it responded to him. The palace, long asleep, had reactivated. Its voice echoed through the halls like a whisper. In stone, bloodline confirmed, royal code accepted. Initiating air protocol. The walls lit up. The floor shifted beneath his feet. A hidden room opened, not with keys, but with his presence. Inside, a chamber filled with ancient technology. Training devices, memory banks, and something else. Something alive. Callow stepped in behind him. He looked around, stunned. I studied this place for years. Nothing ever opened for me. Zane stepped forward. A blue orb hovered from the wall. It scanned him, then projected a new voice. His mother, not a recording this time. A living construct. Built from her thoughts, her memories. Zane, the voice said, if you're here, the world is already burning. But blood is not enough. You must become more. The training began. Zane entered the gravity chambers. Time ran slower inside. 1 hour outside equals 10 inside. He trained his mind first. The eye showed him how to control fear, read intentions, feel energy through the air. He trained his hands next. Metal blocks floated around him. He learned to bend them, break them, mold them like clay with just a thought. He fell often, bled often, screamed often, but every time, he stood up again. The necklace around his neck wasn't glowing anymore. It was pulsing like a second heart. Callow watched from the viewing room. He whispered, he's learning faster than she did. The eye responded, he's not just her son. He's human, and humans adapt. Outside, word began to spread across the galaxy. Pirates, soldiers, lost colonies. Hidden allies, whispers. Filled the dark. The Empress's child lives. The bloodline breathes. Nyx has an heir. Some wanted to help. Some wanted him dead before he grew stronger. The Shadow Order knew he was training. Their High Hunter gathered new assassins. This time, not just to kill Zane, but to erase the ruins of Nixer Prime. On the 7th day of training, Zane stood in the open sky. The planet's winds howled around him. He raised both hands, palms open. Dozens of metal shards floated in the air. He turned his hands slowly. The shards spun like a storm, then stopped, then formed a sword. A blade without a handle, floating in the air, controlled by mind only. He smiled. A rare, quiet smile, not proud, not cocky, just ready. Suddenly, alarms rang across the palace. Kalo ran to the balcony. What now? A fleet of enemy ships appeared in orbit. Smaller than warships, but fast. Dropships, saboteurs, shadow agents. They weren't here to fight. They were here to destroy the ruins, erase all proof of Zane's lineage, kill the past before it rose again. Stepped to the edge of the palace. The wind hit his face. He looked at the ships coming in hot. He didn't flinch, didn't ask for help, didn't run. He walked to a panel, pressed his hand to the ancient console. Empress's voice echoed once more. Ready the Skyguard. Across the cliffs of Nixer Prime, massive towers rose, hidden defenses, orbital shields, laser batteries, automated fighters launched into the sky. For 10 years they had slept. Now they screamed to life. Because of him, Zane raised his hand again. The floating sword beside him split into 5 pieces. They formed a ring. They spun, then shot forward like missiles. Each one hit a different dropship. Mid-air explosions lit up the sky. But many still landed. The ground shook. Shadow warriors stepped onto the soil of Nixer Prime again. Zane jumped from the balcony, fell 3 stories, landed without a sound. They rushed at him, blades, claws, plasma rifles. He moved like smoke, dodged. One broke another's weapon with a thought, then blasted a wave of kinetic force that tossed 5 enemies into the air. He wasn't just fighting. He was commanding the battlefield. Kalo stood back, speechless, by the stars. He's already more powerful than she was. The battle lasted only 12 minutes, but when it ended, the ground was scorched. The air buzzed with static. Zane stood in the center, chest rising, hands shaking, but undefeated. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere beyond them, his mother still waited, and others still hunted. He didn't say much, just 4 words. I am not finished. Zane no longer walked in the shadows. He flew, not with wings, not with machines, but with sheer force of will. He had learned to push the air, to bend gravity, to rise above the broken world beneath his feet. News of him had spread like a virus. In every outlaw bar, in every forgotten system, on every black market transmission, one name echoed: Zane of Nyx, son of the Empress. The boy who turned back the Shadow Order. Alone. Now, he wasn't just being hunted. He was being watched, judged, feared. Inside the palace ruins, Zane sat alone, staring at the holographic map. The eye flickered around him. Coordinates received. It said, signal confirmed. Origin, Sector 9 Zeta. Deep vault prison. Zane's heart jumped. Is it her? He asked. The eye paused. Signature match, 82%. Possibility high. Zane stood up. No hesitation. No second thought. If there's even a chance she's alive, I'm going. Professor Kalo stepped into the room. Zane looked at him, not as a student looks to a teacher, but as a commander looks to an old soldier. I need a crew, Zane said. Just 5 people, loyal, smart, quiet. Kalo nodded. I know some ghosts who owe the Empress a favor. Within hours, the Phantom Wing was ready. An ancient starcruiser from the Empress's war days. Black metal. Silent engines, no ID tag. Perfect for a mission into dead space. Zane boarded with his hand-picked team. Kylo, the Watcher. Trayan, a blind alien hacker with tech in his bones. Vara, a bounty hunter who once hunted the Empress and switched sides. Galax, a warbot reprogrammed by guilt. And Sira. Yes, her. The girl who once threw food at Zane. Now her eyes followed him like a shadow follows a flame. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, silence filled the control room. Then Trajan spoke, tapping at glowing keys. There's chatter. Someone else is heading to Sector 9 Zeta. Who? Zane asked. Shadow Fleet. Small. Fast. Armed. Zane clenched his fists. They know too. Kallo turned. If your mother is there, they'll try to reach her first. Zane's voice was ice. Then we'll reach her last and take her back. 2 days later, Sector 9 Zeta, a dead zone. No sunlight. No sound. Just one broken moon orbiting a dying red star. At its core, deep vault, the most secret prison in the galaxy. Built to hold only one kind of prisoner. Legends. The Phantom Wing landed in silence. No welcome. No warning, only empty towers, frozen metal, and strange lights pulsing under the ground. Zayn stepped off the ship first. His necklace began to glow. Not warm, not gentle. It was calling. Pulling him, she was here. The team moved fast, slicing through the prison doors with hacked codes and telekinetic blasts. Every wall inside whispered old pain. Torture machines. Isolation cells. Mind scream chambers, but none of it broke Zane's focus. He found the chamber at the very bottom, a sealed pod, shielded in 10 layers of crystal steel. Power flowing into it nonstop for over a decade. Inside it, a woman, her body thin, her hair silver, her eyes closed, but he knew. He knew. His mother. The Empress Dill gasped. She's alive, but barely. Trajan read the systems. She's in stasis, kept alive. Drained slowly, like a battery. Zane stepped forward. He raised his hand. The locks cracked like glass. He reached out to touch the pod, and then everything went black. Betrayal. Sira had fired a paralysis dart, straight to Zane's spine. He fell. Couldn't move. Could barely breathe. She stepped over him, emotionless. The bounty on your head is more than 10 galaxies combined. She pressed a beacon to her wrist. Shadow order signature. You're powerful, Zane, but you're still young. Still human. She turned to the others. No one move, or I kill him now. Kallo reached for his weapon. Too late. Shadow assassins teleported into the chamber. Guns raised, swords drawn. They surrounded the pod. Surrounded Zane. But even frozen, Zane could feel the pod, feel her inside. Her breath, her warmth, her power. And something inside him cracked, his necklace shattered. Not broke, released. A surge of energy blasted from Zane's body. Every light exploded. Every shadow assassin screamed. His eyes opened, glowing like twin stars. His body lifted from the floor. He spoke one word. Enough. The walls shook. The floor split. The pod opened with a hiss. And the Empress opened her eyes. The galaxy didn't breathe that day. Time itself held still. Because she had opened her eyes. And for the first time in 10 years, the Empress of Nyx was awake. Inside the deep vault, chaos exploded. Shadow assassins scrambled. Their weapons shook in their hands. Zane hovered above the ground, eyes blazing white. His mother stood beside him. No armor, no weapons. But power radiated from her like a living star. The Empress looked around slowly. She didn't ask where she was. She already knew. Her voice echoed like thunder in a cave. You dared to cage me. Now face what you feared. In seconds, she raised one hand. The walls of the prison twisted, cracked, then folded inward, crushing 2 assassins instantly. Another fired at her. The plasma bolt curved mid-air and struck the shooter instead. Zane looked at her, not with fear, not with questions. One word. Mother. She turned to him, smiled softly, just once, then said, Let's finish this. Outside, in orbit, Shadow fleets were already closing in Doom-class ships, planet burners. Over 100 vessels pointed at one tiny moon, but they were too late. The Phantom Wing launched from the surface, Zane and the Empress at the helm, Kalo in weapons, Trayan in navigation, and Galax humming with rage. Zira? She had been left behind, bound and unconscious, to face the same prison she betrayed them for as they broke through the atmosphere. Zane stood in the center of the ship. He stretched his arms wide. His voice wasn't loud, but it reached space like a beacon to every system that remembers the Eye of Nyx. Hear me now. I am Zane, son of the Empress. We rise today not to rule, but to reclaim what was stolen. Across space, fleets paused, bounty hunters stopped tracking, old warlords watched their screens. Even scavengers on dead planets lifted their heads. Something ancient had returned, something. UNKILELA, hope. But hope always has enemies. The Shadow Command ordered a full strike. All ships, all weapons, no mercy. Zane's ship moved like a ghost, dodging blasts, weaving through chaos inside. The Empress touched an old relic embedded in the floor. Zane, she said, it's time you saw what you really are. The relic lit up. Golden lines crawled across his skin. A pulse of memory hit his brain. He saw her world as it once was, before the war. He saw himself, as a baby in her arms, as soldiers kneeled before her, as planets bowed at the sound of his heartbeat. He wasn't just royal blood. He was designed for more, part human, part Nyxian. The perfect hybrid. Now awakened, Zane stepped to the front of the ship, lifted both hands, and tore a shadow vessel in half with his mind. No spell, no weapon, just pure command. But the enemy flagship was still coming, 50 times their size, armed with a planetary core cannon. Kalo shouted, we can't stop that. But the Empress smiled. Oh, we're not stopping it, she said. We're breaking it. Zane and his mother flew out of the ship, side by side, through open space. No suits, no shields, only energy, only power. Together they reached the enemy flagship. The cannon fired a beam the size of a city. It should have vaporized them. Instead, Zane raised his hand, the Empress raised hers, and the blast split. Around them, they entered the ship's bridge like gods returning from exile. The Shadow Commander stood frozen. You're supposed to be dead. The Empress didn't answer. Zane did. You should have killed me when I was weak. But you chose to make me angry. Zane clenched his fist. The command deck bent inward, control panels shattered. The crew collapsed to the floor. The war was over. One by one, shadow fleets retreated. Some surrendered, others self-destructed, and in every corner of the galaxy, people looked up and saw a new symbol flash across the stars. The Eye of Nyx. Reborn. Back on Nyxer Prime, the palace lit up for the first time in a decade. The throne room was rebuilt, cleaned. Awakened Zane stood at the center, but he didn't sit on the throne. His mother did. And she looked at him proudly. You could rule, she said. You've earned it. But Zane shook his head. I'm not ready to rule. She raised an eyebrow. Then what will you do? He smiled. Rebuild the galaxy. Not as a king, but as a symbol of what happens when you push a human too far. And so, the bullied child, the forgotten Earth boy, the weak human in a galaxy of monsters, became a legend. Not just because of his power, but because he refused to bow.